Again, thank you all for being here. I encourage you to look at the two candidates that are running against Hickenlooper. Dan is a great guy. I have nothing bad to say about Dan. All I have to say is, who has the best chance of beating Hickenlooper? Who has the best chance of making sure that we, Republicans, in the legislature, control redistricting, so that we make sure that for the next generation, we have Republicans in congressional seats across the state of Colorado, that we have Republican state senators, Republican state representatives in seats in the majority across the state of Colorado, that the next governor is a conservative that will be placing conservatives into judicial vacancies. Folks, this is not time to be joking around. Ballots go out in 2 weeks. We have to decide, are we going to win this governor's office or not? That's all I'm asking you to look at. You may like Dan, you may not like Tom, you may not like Dan, you may like Tom. Who has the best chance of beating Hickenlooper? As Republicans, that's all we should care about, is who has the best chance to move our conservative values forward. We have what we have in this state right now in this election. You may not like it, but it is what it is. I encourage you to join me and join so many other Republican leaders across this state, so many other conservative grassroots leaders across this state that have come to the conclusion that if we want to win, that if we want to beat John Hickenlooper for governor, we have to back the candidate who can do it. And that candidate is Congressman Tom Tancredo. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your help in moving Colorado forward. God bless you. Have a great night.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Braden, for another well-done event. I think this is my third trip, the School of Mines, to meet with the college students and anybody else that they get coerced down here. I think it's important that your actions match your words, and if you're a candidate who wants to earn votes, you need to show up. And that's what I've done for the last 18 months, is show up, well, now over 100,000 miles on 4 cars and a couple of private airplanes to earn your vote. You know, I wish Senator Harvey was running for governor. I remember when Scott was still running and John Zacklin would speak for Scott, and I'd say, boy, I wish John was running for governor. And Senator Harvey did a fine job tonight, and what I really liked is that he actually gave some fairly specific answers, except instead of ranting and raving about immigration and ranting and raving about what goes on in Washington. So thank you for the straight answers, Senator Harvey. When I got into this race, I looked at the state of Colorado and I said, it's heading down the same direction that Washington, D.C. is heading. We have a Democratic governor, Democratic legislature, and they are ramming things down our throats in Denver, just like the Democratically controlled Congress and President Washington are doing there. And I said, who's going to step up to the plate? You know, leaders lead. They don't sit in back rooms and say, well, if it's your turn, I won't run, or I won't run if you want to run. And Congressman Tancredo has now participated in at least 2 of those backroom deals to get where he is today. You know, when I got into the system, of course, everybody underestimated me. But what they really underestimated was the people of Colorado. They underestimated the voters of Colorado who are sick and tired of politics as usual. And you're looking for someone who's going to speak for you and stand up for you instead of the other way around. When we got to the caucus, they said, Dan Maes can't win. He doesn't have the name and he doesn't have the money. Did we hear that again tonight? We picked our guy because he had more money. Is that how you decide who to vote for? Who has the most money? I hope not. And we were supposed to get about 10% on caucus night, and we got 40%. And then came the assembly. And they tried to get us out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We blasted out emails saying, Dan Maes can't win. Go to this website to find out why. And they wanted to make sure I didn't even get 30%. And what do we get? We got 50%. Well, then came the primary. Well, there's no way Dan Maes can win the primary. It's impossible. He doesn't have the name recognition, and he doesn't have the, what's the magic word again? Money. But the people of Colorado once again stood up and made their wishes known. And they said, Dan Maes is the man that we want, because 2010 is a whole new ballgame. And this isn't about career politicians, and it is about people pretending to be Republicans when they belong to a minor party out there. And don't try to mislead us, Senator. He's not a Republican. He's an American constitutionalist. And we'll talk more about that later. So, here's my plan for Colorado, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of some of the questions, but my message has never changed. It's been the same from the first time I came down to see the college Republicans. Number one, we must downsize state government. Plain and simple. It has to be done. And we need someone with actual business experience that's done it before. Number two, we do get our energy industry back strong in our state. I'll address that later when the questions come. Number three, we do what Republicans are supposed to do. That's cut taxes. You see, we hear a lot about smaller government and cutting taxes, but have we seen it done in Washington in the last 20 years? Or in Denver, for that matter? Not really. And then we get serious about illegal immigration, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I want to thank you all for sacrificing your night. Forgive me in the polo shirt and the blue jeans, but I was out actually campaigning instead of playing politics, because you know what happens? The congressman, he probably decided not to come tonight because you heard the mayor wasn't coming tonight. And politicians play those games. They don't want to lower themselves if the right guys don't show up. I show up everywhere, anytime that I get an invitation, because that's what the voters of Colorado deserve. Thanks again, and I look forward to your questions.
How do you plan to fix Colorado's current budget crisis?
Well, our current budget crisis, let's look at where it started. It started with Democratic Governor Bill Ritter and chasing the energy industry out of our state, being unfriendly to business, as the senator put so well. So we have to simply reverse those things, don't we? We have to, thank you very much, I am going to need that. Number one, again, we downsize state government. That's what I mentioned before. We have to lower our tax burden in this state, and we can't just talk about it. And I've been specific about it. We have to get rid of Amendment 23. It's a burden on higher ed, and someone mentioned higher ed. We might talk about that a little bit. It's a burden on higher ed. It's a burden on public safety. It's a burden on health, because it's taking a disproportionate share of our budget away. And then we just have to reduce headcount. We don't replace people who are retiring. We don't replace open positions, and then we start eliminating headcount all across government. But I'll start in the executive branch, because that's where we should start. You know, Bill Ritter added almost 2,000 people to state government, some of them making $150,000 to $300,000 a year in pay. How many of you out there are doing that right now? It shouldn't have happened, and a lot of it was done during the hiring freeze. Smaller government, headcount reductions, program elimination, departmental consolidations. That's what executives do when they manage something.